He's got good things to say. Journalists' biggest blind spot in coverage is groupthink. We draw from a limited pool of people who generally have a similar background in class, simply aren't able to see the perspective of people who are not like them, and tend to drive out those who won't fit in. These are the writing responses. Will for ignorance and distaste for views that don't support our own, the environment, how income inequality, racial inequality influence society, politics. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Covering friends and benefactors. There's not enough toughness than too much snark. This is it's useful because it's actually like kind of an internal admission, and it's as representative a survey as one is going to get. And I think the issue that people have been stuck in is they've been stuck in this, false dichotomy of, like journalism is bad. Oh, we need, good journalism though. So we need to fund the same thing more. But a paradigmatically different approach is, rather than having one journalist making, let's say, $100,000 a year, you have 100 people who make $1,000 a year part-time. They've got day jobs, but they have 1 or 2 or 3 articles a year, and they make $1,000 from that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of something which is like the Substack model, for example.
Yeah.
And you essentially decentralize journalism, and you make it a large enough class that it's harder for them to collude, and they actually are the citizenry who are popping up to speak their mind, and they actually have domain knowledge when they do so.
You know what? It's already happened. If you look at podcasting, I think the reason podcasting has become so prominent is that people are looking at link baiting and they don't trust the media. Media's at an all-time low. The picking of sides, the tribalism, it makes people just feel icky, and they feel like it's just not healthy. And then when they listen to a Joe Rogan podcast and they watch him interview Bernie Sanders or whoever he happens to be interviewing for 2 hours or 3 hours, or you and I doing an hour and a half, you feel like, oh, I got a pretty good sense of what's going on here, or a better sense. And I can really let the person unpack what they're saying. And you as the subject, like, how do I misrepresent you in this podcast? I'd have to do some post-production and really screw with the audio. And I always tell people, the only thing we'll ever take out of the audio is if you told us there was something you said that you regret and you reasonably don't want to be misunderstood. And we're like, yeah, we don't want you to be misunderstood. Well, and that's happened twice in 1,000 episodes, I think. Somebody said something they felt would be misconstrued. They made a joke about communism or something, and they didn't want to be crass. No, it's a true story. It happened this year. And so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think podcasting is a reaction to this in some ways, or a solution maybe?
Yeah, so I think actually podcasting is part of it. So let me give my kind of 10-ish pointers on, it may not actually add up to 10, let's say N pointers on how to decentralize media. So one of them is every company a media company. And what I mean by that is we need to go from content marketing to full stack narrative. And the entire podcast thing that VCs have been doing is essentially the burgeoning of, what I think of as the West Coast media ecosystem, where it's not just text or audio, but it should soon become movies and everything. Basically, tell your whole story. And there's a site which has like 110, 100. It's called what's the name of this site? Which is making videos. Wistia, Wistia.
Oh yeah, no, Wistia, yeah.
Yeah. So Wistia gives a great example of what full stack narrative looks like. And full stack narrative is you do not have to go to somebody else for distribution. I mean, for example, Rachel Maddow doesn't appear on Laura Ingram's show or vice versa, right?
Right.
Typically.
She has her own show.
They have their own show, exactly. And so that's related to kind of premise number. So first, every company, a media company, and related to that, build your own distribution to avoid distortion. You need basically, for tech companies and more broadly, but the companies we invest in, but just really true for any company, 80, 90, 95% of your content is stuff that is related to your vision and your mission and stuff that people find useful. The next step after content marketing are, videos that are helpful, all the type of stuff, which kind of tech has already been doing, right?
Yeah.
But what is a new concept is that 5% of the time or 1% of the time, you're going to get in a scrap where your company's reputation or brand is being attacked by often corporate journalists to benefit their own companies, right? Because they get page views, right? They put your name, which you've built up over the years, into their headline, and they get clicks, and they can literally make money from that. Because anybody has right access to your reputation. They can debit from your reputation, whereas they can't debit from your bank account in the same way. So the distribution that you build up over years of providing useful content to your followers as a company can, in that 1% case, be used to actually fight back, because that's how you have, a million or whatever million followers at that time. So every company, media company, build your own distribution to avoid distortion. Related to this, the tech industry, we've talked about learn to code. You know what comes after learn to code?
What?
Learn to write, report, publish, and direct.